both of you for coming back and continuing the journey in terms of telling us in terms of what you've been up to. Obviously the design of these on tours is to look at a couple of topical pieces of information as well and get your perspectives on them and just have a general chat. But I think what we always like to do before that is just find out a little bit about what's happened since we last spoke, and I think it was season 9. Season 9, you were on with us.
Quite a while back.
Episode 4, season 9. You know, to think that we're going into season 15 this coming season.
It's like, didn't frighten all your listeners away then?
No.
Good.
No. But yeah, what's been happening? How have things been?
Things have been good, busy as always. The event industry is always up and down and seasonal. I think highlights for me, apart from a new grandson, which is, he's now just 4 months old.
Wow.
And he's got the wonderful name of Elvis, and he's absolutely adorable.
Welcome Elvis then.
Well, we welcome Elvis. Yeah. Work-wise, I had a busy summer last year. I led the F&B operation at the Genesis Scottish Open at the Renaissance Club. So that kept me busy. There was a lot of planning to do in advance, a lot of organisation. I didn't know I was doing it until about 3 months before, so slightly dropped in the deep end. But I absolutely love golf. So golf is my passion outside of work as well. So it was great to get involved in a golf tournament, be right in the heart of the planning of the event and the actual on-site delivery of the event. So yeah, it was really exciting. I got another Conservative Party conference under my belt as well, which was at the ICC. A challenge, yeah, that was at the ICC last October. The Conservatives at that time were just going through their leadership, whether they were electing the next leader of the party. So it was an incredibly busy conference. I think it was the first one that we've done that they've not been in power. So the fact that they weren't in power and it was the busiest one we've done today was a great surprise. So yeah, we did over 350 fringe meetings attached to that one conference.
Still makes me judder when you say those words. Fringe meetings.
Oh, yeah, you remember those.
I remember those.
Yeah, you remember those. The fringe meetings. So there's 350 different meetings. There's 350 different organisers, and they're all taking place across the 4 days within the venue.
So it's slightly chaotic, isn't it? Like it's just frantic constantly,
you sort of look
isn't
at it in advance. I mean, you do what you think is a good level of planning, but you still look at it in advance and think, I don't quite know how this is going to operate, but the teams all come together and everybody sort of overlaps their job with someone else's job. And it just absolutely works.
It's
and that's
so well
one great
drilled.
thing about the ICC is it's just a well-oiled machine, and everyone knows what they're doing in their own bit. It's got a good idea what someone else should be doing in their bit, so they can just overlap and make sure that we don't miss anything. So yeah.
So we'll make sure people refer back to Craig's episode, because there was some great hints and tips, and your journey was definitely covered during that one.
Yes,
it was.
So yeah, that's season 10, episode 1. No, season 9, episode 4. Because season 10 was Kat.
But you know what, Jack, that was a nice introduction though, because you'd already introduced Kat before we go.
Season 10, episode 1, you kicked off season 10, and Christ, things have changed for you in a big way. So a whistle-top store, and we'll refer people to where they can find out more about you, but take you through that journey since we spoke last.
Yeah, so I think last time we spoke, I remember being on site. I remember it being the summer, so it was a couple of years ago now. And we did speak a little bit about NOWIE and everything that was going on with the Network of Women events, which we were so pleased to partner with you guys on this year. It's been amazing doing the shout-outs for some incredible women in our community. And we had a really big milestone last November. We turned a CIC. So maybe for those who aren't familiar, a CIC is a social enterprise. So it means we have that new status, really. It means that we've been able to really onboard some amazing partners and sponsors, and so this year we've been working with Arena, who you guys know very well, and we've also been working with Safe Events Global out of Ireland, who you also know very well.
Both previous guests with Ross and with Mark. Ross and Mark.
Cut that bit out. Go listen to those episodes. It's been amazing. So working with partners like that has really enabled us to really level up everything that we're doing. we're paying everyone for their time. We're no longer a voluntary organisation. We're actually going to be looking into getting accredited for minimum living wage, so we're going to be paying everyone above living wage. So yeah, we've had some amazing developments over at NOWIE, which we could touch on, or anyone can go and check out the website and become a member, which is also a new feature. And yeah, I guess the big change is that I have kind of gone over to the dark side, haven't I? the marketing side of the events industry. So still very much in and around events. All of our clients are in the events industry, but I've recently started a business doing marketing B2B for event suppliers and event organisers.
Busy? I mean, we can't keep up, to be honest. We're looking on socials. It's fantastic.
Well, I can keep up now because I'm one of the clients.
Yeah, that's true.
So talk a little bit more in terms of the new business.
Yeah, so I think it kind of, my very first introduction to marketing was through NOWIE, and it was very much do everything with nothing. You know, we never had any budgets for anything we did at NOWIE, and marketing was very much bootstrapped. So we grew all of our channels. We knew that if we were going to make any kind of impact, we needed to be well known. We needed that brand awareness before we could start approaching the arenas or safe events of this world. So from very early doors, I've known the importance of having great marketing. And it's kind of similarly worked for myself in terms of personal branding. Whatever I was doing, I didn't really know exactly what I wanted to do, but I knew that I would need for people to know me and to know a little bit about me and trust me. So ultimately, that's what I've been doing with NOWIE over the last 4.5 years now. So I was doing little bits of freelancing in marketing when there were no events during COVID. And then post-COVID, when events all started coming back and I had all these great marketing clients and all these great events, and I was probably the closest I've ever been to burning out in those first couple of months when everything was back in full swing. I remember being in the Middle East, same day turnover, straight to a ski festival, while juggling a couple of other clients, and I just realised it wasn't going to work. And then through some absolute miracle, I met Eloise very shortly after that. It just naturally, it just worked. She was studying events management, but she knew she wanted to work in marketing. And since then we've grown the team. We work with some amazing freelancers, so I'm not an absolute expert in every area of marketing, but luckily we have some amazing freelancers who they are all experts in their niche. So the bulk of our work is probably PR and social media, mainly around LinkedIn. So getting our clients on panels, thought leadership. We do a lot of personal branding as well for owner-founder businesses. So yeah, loads of really exciting things.
A lot's gone on.
Lots gone on.
A lot's gone on from both of my guests. A lot's gone on, but for the whole idea of these on tour panels is to really explore some of the things that are happening with our business and share some of our experiences in terms of how you may have experienced it or managed it or worked with teams in terms of managing through. So we've come up with a couple of topics for our discussion today, which I know we've shared with you, so they're not going to come as a complete surprise. Do you want to do the first one?
Unless we don't ask those.
Yeah, we could ask the other panel. We could ask a different set.
What email?
What question? No, I suppose the first thing we want to talk about, which Kat just mentioned, was looking back at how things have changed since COVID, so working patterns and being more agile and more flexible. So how have you adjusted, teams adjusted and businesses adjusted? So are you more agile, working at home? What do you do? So I think we're all, as a freelancer, I work anywhere, everywhere, every coffee shop in the nation I can work at. I can choose my hours and things. So it's just interesting from Craig, your business perspective.
And then some completely went the opposite and said, right, we're allowed back in, everyone's got to be back in. Whereas others have actually seen an opportunity in terms of how they've changed the business models, they've saved overheads in terms of changing the size of buildings, because they don't need the size of the buildings they need anymore. So it's just interesting to see how you've personally felt and experienced going through that, and some of the good and the bad that have possibly come from it, and just share those experiences.
Yeah, so working across the NEC group, we've had, we've embraced a bit of hybrid working, a bit of homework. So everyone's allowed to work from home on a Monday and a Friday, in the office Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. For me personally, my team's an operational team, so we're event-led. So we have to be there, we have to be on site. So it's an event on Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Everyone needs to be there. There are opportunities for the team to work from home around that, and if we can make the most of those, then of course we would do. I think one of the best things about it is, and I think everyone's embraced it now, is just the use of the Teams meeting, and the ability to be able to interact with people from where you are. I mean, pre-COVID, I spent a lot of time in my role moving backwards and forwards between the ICC and the NEC and the VOX. You've got one meeting there in the morning and one there in the afternoon, and no one ever thought to do an online meeting. And the time that you've now got back in your diary and the collaboration of being able to speak to anyone within the NEC group face to face at any time across the online platforms, I think it's made a huge difference. And you know, going forward, I think let's just get more and more and more of that. You know, the online webinars, the online seminars that everyone now can join and get great information without having to travel all over the country to find it and learn it. So I think across the NEC group, absolutely embraced all the good things that came out of the other side of COVID and the learnings that we took from the way that we operated previously to how we operate now.
Well, then we'll hold on. We won't go into the challenges yet. We'll let you talk about your experience as well, Kat, first, and then we'll then maybe look at some of the challenges that come with that.
I mean, for me, it's been an absolute incredible game changer. I'd never done an online meeting or a virtual conference until COVID. And I remember my first one, I was so nervous, didn't know where to sit, what to do. I turned up 15 minutes early, just in the waiting room, you know, super nervous, how does this work? And then I realised you don't have to turn up 15 minutes to an online meeting.
Just 1 second before is
sufficient.
Done.
In a best case. And I think for us, I wouldn't have been able to start Electric Cat if we would have needed an office. For a start, Eloise, she was based in Manchester when we first met. She moved to Barcelona to do her degree, and she loved it and never left. So we wouldn't have been able to work together if it was face to face. And I guess being an event freelancer, I'd never really had an office or a 9 to 5. So for me, it wasn't really a big shift, other than that I guess my eyes just got open to a whole world of possibilities. And I do remember having a really great call with my coach, and she was saying, you know, what does the dream situation look like for you? Quite early on in Electric Cat, we've done a lot of, even though some things have happened by happy coincidence and sort of in that way, other things have been very carefully planned. And something that I've always said from the outset is I've always loved to travel. I love just packing my bags and going off somewhere, and having the opportunity to work remotely was always something that I was very conscious of. So for me, it's been an incredible game changer, because we just wouldn't have had the fun. We've started Electric Cat with no investment, no money. Genuinely, we have built that business from the ground up. So our model is billing our clients, and then we pay our team. So for us to factor in an office, I actually don't know how that would work. But instead, what we do is we take the team to Barcelona once a year. So we go and see Eloise. I say this like we've been doing it for decades. Every year we go to Barcelona. So for the last 2 years, we've done a team trip. We make the most of it. Sometimes it's the first time our team members meet face to face. But I do think it's really important. We get a content day, so we do stage loads and loads of photos. We take the Electric Cat t-shirts, different outfits. We've got some fake mics as well. If you see on my website, or photos that I take, some of them aren't even real events. It's just a stage photo. So we make the most so that we can put it through the books, and keeps my accountant very happy. And then we also do. So we found little ways of working. Obviously, it is harder being a fully remote, and it's also challenging because of the way we invoice, and our model doesn't leave hours to just sit around and brainstorm, because we're paying our team for that time. So we're always quite conscious of that balance. But I do really think it's so important to have those moments, and there aren't those tea and coffee moments when you're virtual. So we have a co-working on a Wednesday for an hour. People hop on if they want. They can work on their own stuff. They can go out into little breakout rooms, or sometimes we just sit and just work, having the other person there sometimes just helps with motivation. And we do a virtual team meeting on a Monday. So we do have little ways that we stay in communication. Of course, we use WhatsApp and things like that. But yeah, big game changer for me.
Have your clients embraced it, kind of, you know, just being online and not on as many face-to-face meetings?
I guess I never had that before. I actually graduated in 2019, so I actually graduated straight into COVID.
That's the only world you've known.
Yeah, I actually don't really know what the night, and unfortunately I lived in Cambridge here in St. Neots, well, but you know, there were no events companies there. There were just, I mean, there's one or two, why Boston being one, I emailed them, they didn't get back to me. So, you know, it's one of those, if you don't get that job in events there and then, I was working at Wetherspoons and Boots throughout my unis because there were no remote opportunities. Throughout the summer, I'd go and do loads of events because it was a bit easier, I could be there, but to find something that you can easily manage while studying, having that flexibility and weekend work, it just wasn't really working. So for our current clients at Electric Cat, it works really nicely because we work with clients that are based all around the UK, you know, so it would be really, I just don't think we'd be able to do what we're doing on the scale that we are if we had to be in person. I just don't know how it would work.
What about you, Craig? What have the NEC clients, how have they felt kind of a shift towards more online than?
I'd say it's helped tremendously. It's helped throughout that planning phase of the event. So you can get the whole team online together. You can go through all the detail of that event without the need to bring people from London, from various areas of the country, and you can get everyone together. There's still the need to come on site. I mean, people do need to walk the course and have a look around the venue and just make sure the shape and the layout of the venue fits absolutely for them. I think that's really important, just to help to build that rapport and relationship with the client, to see them face to face, rather than just have all the planning phase through the online process. And I'm into food and beverage, so it's great to bring them into the venue and hold a menu tasting and let them really sample and get a great example of what the food is going to be like when they get there. So I think there's the best of both worlds, really, saving lots of time through and getting through lots of detail when you need to, but you know, it's great then to see people face to face, and the clients do love to come in and have a look around and meet the team.
I think you hit it well there in terms of getting the best of both. You know, we certainly found that as a business in terms of, you know, I must have been one of the only person ever using Skype before COVID. You know, so we were already doing video meetings because a lot of our customers were international customers, and I was always a case of I wanted to see who I was talking to. So we always used, and I've got a lot of family who are based abroad, so it was a good opportunity for me to have those conversations. But we still use the same model in terms of we'll do those introductions via online, but I still think there's something that customers really value of the face-to-face. So as soon as you know that you're getting to that stage where you've got a customer, you know, to have that face-to-face, they feel that investment that you're making in them, you know, and it doesn't just continue as just a quick quick Teams call or a quick Zoom call. Hey, it was Skype. I can't believe people didn't understand Skype.
I used Skype before, because I lived abroad, so
exactly.
I used to Skype
Everyone's
my grandparents.
frantically Googling Skype.
Googling what Skype is.
What does that look like?
They've actually discontinued it. Sadly, because I
don't really use subscription.
It's no longer a fun fact, but I used to just put a £5 on Skype credits, and you can make international calls. They were the cheapest, like 0.002 pence per call. So you could actually just call any number. So you know when you're like living in France and having to do the admin, like the not certain 0800 numbers, that's how it always work when you're abroad. So that was like my best life hack. I think I've only done 15 quid in like 10 years. It was the best thing ever.
During COVID, when people were saying, and how do you use these video meetings and things like that, I'm thinking, why are people worrying about this? I've been using these for years. But it was at that education process, and I think when we're talking in terms of the agile working, it is about not losing. You mentioned it there, Kat, in terms of bringing the teams together still is so valuable, you know, especially new members, and what you get from a screen to what you get in person is completely different. And I remember a client that one of our previous guests introduced me, Chloe, introduced me to an Italian customer, and when we met in person, in comparison to meeting online, didn't realise he was so tall. And it's even as something as simple as that.
I had the same thought earlier on, actually. We bumped into each other in the corridor.
But it is as simple as that in terms of you don't fully understand and engage in the person as what you're doing in real life. So it is trying to get that balance that you mentioned, Craig, is so valuable.
But also some people don't like to use it, so then their true personality doesn't come across because they're like, oh God, this is awkward. Don't know where to look.
Don't put the camera on occasionally.
Yeah, that's it, don't put the camera on, you know, and people get quite nervous with that. So actually the in-person, it's like, oh, that's who they are, that's what you're like, the height thing.
Whereas some prefer it because they can't cope in the environments with people, so that you'll automatically get, I prefer to sit behind a computer. I'm in my safe space.
Or they're in the pyjamas as well.
Yeah, I'm sure I've done a number of calls.
That 1 minute before the meeting starts.
But I think it's quite nice actually, because with contrast now, I do have one client that I used to go to the office quite a lot, and just seeing one of the more junior team members, and I think she struggled to focus a lot. And one thing I do like working from home in our model is that it's quite easy to, if we have a meeting at 9, we'll do the meeting at 9 and finish at 9:30, and we kind of can be a bit more organised, whereas I find it extremely distracting if people are walking up to my, I think it's nice, but if it's all day, and for certain people's brains that isn't conducive to them getting focus work done. Maybe it's fine if you're just sort of doing little tasks, but if you've got a real chunk of work where you need to sit down and really focus.
I think you also know that that's the time that I can raise my, like, if I've got all these questions, I know that I've got dedicated time to talk to the team, that, you know, and yeah, you're right, it helps that focus.
Well, let's talk about that then in terms of leading, you know, because you lead teams, you know, in terms of how have you managed to ensure that this agile isn't abused in terms of from leading the teams. There we go. See, I'm going to ask questions like this because it is from a leadership position, from a management position. You will get individuals within your team that you know no problems whatsoever, and you'll get others that you suddenly see a pattern, and you suddenly see that little bit of taking a bit of advantage in terms of the system. So how are you managing leading teams and managing teams through that process? You don't have to name names.
I think for me personally, I think when if people are at home, I think it's, you know, you have to have a level of trust. I think that's part of this hybrid type working. You've got to trust people who've got a job to do. They've got the opportunity to focus if they're at home to be able to do that job properly. I'll always do a check-in call or a little Teams message just to, you know, to obviously just not to make sure you get a response, but just to make sure they're still awake and not in bed. But yeah, I'll always check in with people. And to be honest, for me personally, across my team, as I said before, there's not a great deal of home working. They're in the venue, operational, and when they get that opportunity to work from home, you do know that they've got plenty of work that they've got stored up, that's built up because they've been on the floor, hands on at the coal face, and then it gives them the opportunity just to rewind, just in their own environment. It's a little bit calmer and a bit more peaceful, and then you know, you find out people are just churning out lots and lots of work. I think the other side of the problem is they end up working then till 6 and 7 o'clock in the evening because there is no backstop, there is no, you know, everyone's gone out of the office, oh, I probably need to go as well, whereas actually you just keep working because that's the environment you're in. But yeah, I think just keep checking in and talking to people, and when they're back in the next day is, you know, how'd you get on yesterday? Did you get X, Y, Z? Completed it, and yeah, it's just keeping close to it. I think it's important.
Yeah. I think you're right. It is that, isn't it? It's that knowing your parameters that you do normally finish work at 5:30, so you really should be logging off when you're at home at 5:30 because you don't want to be encouraging 6:30, 7, 8 o'clock. You know, unless you're leading up to an event or there's a reason for it. But yeah, it's educating the team that you can close your laptop at your normal time. You don't have to do more work because you're at home. It's still a normal working day.
I would also say though the flexibility I've seen from speaking with people is where, you know what, I want to go to the gym.
I was about to say that. I was literally about to say that.
3 o'clock, I'm going to go to the gym, not feel guilty about it, because at 6 o'clock I'm going to log back on and continue with some more work. So it's been flexible to people's working patterns, and with us now acknowledging that we've got such a neurodiverse workforce, you know, who work in different ways, and to get the best out of them, we're being a lot more flexible in terms of with the workforce. We're getting the same results, and quite often we're getting better results because we are being able to adapt.
Did you find that you know, I've got a 40-minute commute every morning, and people they're saving that in their diary. So go for a run before you start work. Run, as you say, you can use the gym, and you just got more time that you can be productive throughout the day rather than sitting behind a car steering wheel in tremendous traffic jams that don't seem to be going anywhere and getting frustrated with life.
I just treat everyone the way I wish I was treated when I was freelance. I think we genuinely have tried as hard as we could to make sure that everything we do is with our team in mind first. So it is quite nice because of the way we bill our clients, is that we do have to, like an agency, we have to be very, very rigorous with our timekeeping. So we know if a task has been done or not, because we set the tasks to our team, they complete it. Within the task in our project management software, we put a time recommendation, so it could be 2 to 3 hours to do X number of social media posts, or 2 hours, 2-3 hours to write a piece of content. So it doesn't really allow for, people aren't on a day and then we give the tasks, and then so they have to be recording that, because we bill that straight back to our clients. So for us, it is just a matter of understanding our freelancers. We've got a very diverse team, and different people work in different ways. I went to a talk recently and got really inspired by someone who was speaking about the personality types and things like that, but realistically we've all done the test, but no one can actually remember what it says, let alone interpret that and then apply that to a real life situation, because it's just too complex. It's great if you're doing very, very in-depth research, which often there are people that are in that sort of field, but in practice, how do we take that away? And he used the analogy of a plant pot, and when you buy a plant, it says, don't leave me in the sun, only water me once a week, and then you put it in the bin and ignore it. That's not what we're doing. We're trying to really embed that into the corporate culture. So we've asked all of our team, are you a morning person? Are you an evening person? How do you like to receive feedback? Do you prefer a phone call, a text, an email? What's your bugbear? What is it that really annoys you? Like, for me, little things, but when things aren't formatted, like my brain works better in our branding guidelines, and when I see a document in error, it just annoys me. So it's little things like that. I don't want to be petty because it's so stupid and trivial, and I don't want to be telling every new freelance every time there's a document, be like, by the way, so that's a nice, easy, safe way that we can go and say, this is my user guide. So when we get a new team member, we do that, and then other people can kind of understand. So yeah.
I think the other thing from my perspective when we're discussing that is parents. I think the agile working, what I've seen is it's allowed parents to be parents, and to be present. So if there's a sports day, historically that was a day's annual leave that someone had to take. Which when you're only given a certain amount of number of days, with the agile working, to be able to say, I've got my daughter's sports day at 1 o'clock this afternoon until 3 when she finishes school, I'd love to go to it. Fine, no problem, as long as it fits within the business needs. Get yourself there, get yourself back. It's a memory that they're not going to miss. The whole attitude of that individual who's working for you, who's going to make that time up or just work it differently. I've seen the agile aspect has seen a lot more of that, because especially from speaking with dads, in terms of who I work with, and the number of occasions they weren't there because they couldn't get the time, or only one of them could get the time. One of the parents could get the time off because they couldn't both have it at the same time. There has been some positives. So. Okay, question 2. Shall I do this one?
You do this one. You start.
Burnout, and I'm often getting asked questions in terms of burnout, especially in our sector, in terms of have you experienced it, and you've already touched on that previously, but also in terms of how are you managing it both personally and with your teams?
Okay, so personally, I think burnout can come occasionally. I think, I'm still of the mindset that I want to do the best job I possibly can, and I feel that if I've not done that, I'm just letting myself down, not everybody else around me. So I really do want to push myself. I think within the conference industry, you've certainly got the peaks and the troughs of sort of the autumn and the spring, and then the summer tends to sort of quieten down. So you've got to be at the top of your game at these points where it's absolutely going to be imperative that you're alert, you're ready, and you're ready for the next day just as you finished the day before. And certainly in my side of the events industry, there's some very early starts and some very late finishes. So for me, what I do, I love to play golf at the weekend, and I just find that as being one of those sports and things that stops me thinking about anything else that's a problem or in my life that it's taken a lot of my mental capacity. Not that there's a lot of it, but I find that when I play golf, it just gives me that moment just to think about golf, talk to the people that I'm playing golf with about anything other than work, and I just find that helps me to really relax. So for me, that's the little bit, and I try and make sure I can do that at weekends and give myself that moment. For the team, we're very conscious about how we produce a rota, so we make sure that they've got a rota at least a month in advance of what's going on, so they know what events we've got on, they know the days they're going to be working, the days they're not going to be working, so they've got a great opportunity then to plan their own days off and plan what they want to do. So we're not giving them last minute information about we need you tomorrow, or so we do an advanced rota system, and then we'll fine tune the rota as the event detail comes in. So we know we've got an event that day, but it's the actual timings of that event that probably we might need to tweak slightly for you. So we can tell you you're off these days, but these days we know that we're going to need you in. And then we make sure people that are finishing late are not starting early the next day. So we've got we're really conscious about making sure people get the opportunity to get a breather between coming into work, finishing work, and coming in the next day.
And does that work for you as a manager as well as staff on the ground?
Not always as a manager. I think there's a few senior people across the team that I guess the overall accountability would stay with them, and I personally find that I feel less stressed about things if I'm part of it and I can impact it and I can affect what's going on. So I then find that if I'm at home, and I know a couple of the people that I work with have a similar philosophy, but if I'm at home and something's happening, then I'm actually more stressed than what I would be, enjoying it and smiling and having a bit of banter with some of the team and just being part of what's going on, and then there to react and support when needed. So
I think sometimes it depends on the client, doesn't it, as well, that you might think, actually, I'm just better being there because I know that client well, I know they're going to be demanding, and your presence there with that client will soften whatever they're going to say. So I think you just depend on that. That ideally, you want kind of a nice balance of your rota as well, but the reality is you probably need to be there to kind of support the team and then deal with any challenging clients that you might have, or clients that you know well.
And I think that's it. I think they also, as an expectation, is for some events, and certainly some of my team, that they're going to see those people at their events. So we manage so that the team are not on back-to-back events that they're leading. So so they get a gap between events as well. So we know they've got to put all the effort in for a 3 or 4 day period, but their next event that they're personally leading doesn't come along for another week or so, so they've got time to plan, prepare, and then do the next event. I think personally as well, I think as the sort of overall GM, there's levels of event, and every event's important, but if you've got a 4-day Conservative Party conference, then obviously you're going to need to be there the majority of it. If you've got a much smaller evening awards dinner for 70 people, then you potentially don't need to be there. So it's again just managing your time. You know, where you're going to have the most effect and where you think you need to be.
We used to do, because I used to work at the ICC with Craig, and we used to do tag teaming as the event management team. So you'd introduce the client to who was going to replace you that evening, so that then you'd kind of have a little system so you could get away. If you'd been there at 7 o'clock, you could get away early, and then one of your colleagues would step in, because the client ultimately just wants to know who's there that's a manager and that's somebody that they trust and know. And then it meant that you could actually start to slip away rather than staying for part of the dinner. I'm going to say part of the dinner, not all the dinner. You know, and then so that used to work, but not with all clients, because sometimes they just want you there.
The tag team still does work across the event management team, so they tend to double up on some of the really big events, so that as you say, they can have someone at the morning.
You've got to manage it for sickness as well, don't you?
And sickness, I mean,
you know,
no one's allowed to be sick at the event. You're not allowed to be ill.
But it happens, and just the familiarisation of a face, even if you don't know them, but they've been in a meeting, or you were in this meeting, and that's why I'm stepping in and helping out. That familiarity just adds that level of ease, because clients expect, as you say, clients expect us to be there
all the
24/7 because you're the person who is leading on that project. But when you explain that situation to them and say, this is the team that are working on your project, I'm not single-handedly managing your project. Introduce the team, they understand the depth of the knowledge that are supporting that event, and it just eases that understanding a little bit,
that works wonders. I think as long as they've got a face, they know who to go to, they can get hold of them at the moment they need to get hold of them. I think it's
as long as you've got your radio on, Craig, I mean, that's it. As long as your radio's on, you answer it, the client's happy. But come in.
That's
so, Kat, burnout.
Yeah, I think when I mentioned it earlier, I feel very fortunate. I've never experienced burnout. I wouldn't say I have been burnt out and that has prevented me from doing another job, but I think it's, and that's why I don't love the word, kind of like imposter syndrome. I don't really love the word. I think we all have feelings of days where things are a bit up and down, and there are days where I feel so chilled and relaxed. So and I'm an up and down person. I'm not. Some people are quite constant, and I think that's definitely some people. I'm definitely not. I'm either like over the moon, buzzing, like you see me at an event, I'm super excited, or if I'm having a bad day, I think because I get so, like that is my personality, so people do notice quite quickly if I'm not my usual self, it does come through. And for me it's more those feelings of overwhelm, and I'd be an absolute liar if I said I didn't have feelings of overwhelm starting a business. But I think how I've prevented getting in that situation is I've not tried to do it all. I feel so fortunate. I've listened to so many podcasts. I mean, I genuinely am a little bit obsessed. I've probably listened to like the whole season of everything that you guys, all of the industry ones. I listen to like loads of external marketing podcasts. I'm always watching, like, I do online training, watch videos. Like, I am a bit of a obsessed with learning, so I'm trying really hard to like learn from other people's mistakes and not do the things that I keep hearing, you know, time after time. People tell me things that I've listened. So we have, for a start, an amazing accountant. We have a bookkeeper. It turns out I can't do bookkeeping. It's not my forte. We've invested very heavily. I've always invested in. I have a life coach. I never would have thought I'd have a life coach, but it happened, and actually she's amazing, and she helps me sort of where that personal balance is with the professional. I have a mentor who it kind of comes under the form of a business consultant, Emily, who's just been an absolute rock. And all of these things cost a lot of money, and it's terrifying as a small business to think of how much it's all going to cost and go, oh my God, these are like really big numbers. But I genuinely don't think we would have. I feel very lucky that we've not made big mistakes with Electric Cat, where we've then had to go and backtrack. I was just building a deck yesterday and looking at all of our amazing client feedback. I genuinely think our average was 9.3 out of 10. Like it's over 9. As would you recommend us to a colleague? How do you feel? Are you happy? You know, and with that support, we've been able to build a really sustainable business, and a sustainable business ultimately is a sustainable life. For me, I was out of office last week. I didn't take my laptop. 5 days. Nice. I check my laptop once or twice a day, and I know a lot of business owners are much further on in their career, but if they're not there, their business can't run because that spreadsheet, that document, that process, I don't gatekeep. I'm very transparent. It's our number one value as a business, and that isn't just with our clients, that's with the team as well. Eloise is in our accounting software. She issues the invoices. We do it together, but if I'm not there, I totally trust her to do it. So there's nothing really in the business that. We have an amazing account management system. Eloise has a mentor who isn't me, and she helps her. So when she has struggles, she can turn to someone else. Emily sits across all of our financials, our business strategy. Our clients are very much looked after by their account managers, and the freelancers are all onboarded. So I feel very fortunate that that didn't happen overnight, but by knowing early on that investing in the right support and building a very scalable, sustainable business would mean that it's less pressure for me. So now things are actually like really ticking along, so I feel very fortunate.
I think it's interesting talking about coaching and having a mentor and things like that, because a lot of people I know have got coaches and they almost don't want to talk about it, or like, I've got a therapist. It's kind of like a weird thing to talk about. We're like, oh, I don't want to say I've got a therapist or a coach, because what does that mean? That I can't do it? Or like, I need help. It's like, no, it doesn't. It means that you're thinking about you're talking to somebody else about a problem and getting advice, and it's just it's that safe space, isn't it? When you've got a mentor, you're like, right, let's talk about this problem, okay, and it's just opening up to somebody. Like I find that therapist word, people just go, ooh,
well, for me, the life coach, I think I would associate it with like a skinny latte triple caramel, LA living, like bougie coach, but that's not me. Like I genuinely, we met on Facebook and she was doing her training and she was offering free sessions, and I'm like, I'll take anything, I did the NatWest Business Accelerator. I'm not ashamed to say it in any way, but I just think that sometimes the term life coach seems a bit wishy-washy. I'm so sorry to life coaches, but that's like my perception would be that I'm not afraid to say that I ask for help. On the contrary, I'm the biggest advocate of putting your hand up and asking for help if you don't know. And you said something there which is so interesting, because with her, it's never been about resolving problems. It's about prevention. It's quite rare that I go to my coach when something bad's happened and then we're kind of working back. It's more, okay, what's on the cards for the next month? What do you want your focus to be? How are you balancing this? How does that impact, like, how are you feeling? And so we're kind of navigating, and I feel very fortunate that I've always done things before it became a problem. So it's more of a prevention rather than a cure, which I think sometimes can be challenging, because when people go to someone with a real challenge, often you then have to go away and do the work, and sometimes people invest in, they think that having a mentor or a coach will resolve their problem. In the same way, maybe having a marketeer, that if someone does the marketing, it's always a two-way street between the client and the person who's supporting, really.
Yeah. How do you find it? You know, we're at sort of different stages in terms of parenting. You know, mine are a lot older than yours. How have you found managing workloads with being a parent?
I think my kids have always known that I've done freelancing. Like, it's not been a surprise. Like, ever since Arthur was born, that this is what I've done. So he's not known me do anything different. So he knows then that I could be away, or I could have to work. Like, if I've got a client in the States, that my evenings are going to be taken up. So I think I've always found it's just talking to them about what Mommy does. You know, I'm going to go away for this amount of time. This is what I do. But then when I come back, you know, I'll pick you up from school and we'll go out. And this weekend we're going to do this. So I think I've always found that just be open with them, because I'm not always there. Like I always say, like I'm just an absent parent most of the time, but they understand that this is what I do for a living, and if I don't do this, what am I going to do? Like, a little boy gets hung up on, yeah, but Mummy, I have to go to after school club. I was like, son, but some children go every single day to before and after school club. I said, do you only go once a week? I said, because we co-parent. I've got friends that pick up, or my mum picks up. So actually they're very lucky that they get this world of other people's input into their lives and other experiences. So I think because I love this world that I'm in, I couldn't do anything different. Actually, that probably exudes onto them, that I'm happy in what I do, when we have a plan when I'm not there. And I think it's just open and honest for me with the kids, and just saying, well, this is what I do, and you know, you're not going to miss out on anything, and I won't miss anything, because you work with clients that understand you've got kids and you need to have a sports day or a parents' evening or a concert next week or something else.
I think mine, when I was younger in the career, was the time element. You know, in terms of how I managed that time and that break from finishing an event to actually being home. And my first aim as a dad was always to get home and be there. But actually, I was finding that I wasn't present. I was there, but I wasn't present, because I hadn't given myself the time to. And we just chatted recently with another guest in terms of that, and in terms of how do you manage that process. And with some of our big European events, I was actually taking an extra day. Mm-hmm. We've got long-term friends in Holland, and I was actually, you know what, instead of just running straight back, I was stopping and doing an overnight in Holland and just relaxing. And people said, but you stayed away another day when you could be home with the family. I says, no, because actually by the time I then got home, I was present. You know, and I wasn't, I'd given myself that time to just,
you need to get back to you, to get back to your family. If you get back
to be the dad, you know, to be the dad. Otherwise, I was still going through stuff. I was still in, or I was absolutely flagged, and I was just in bed, and I wasn't even present there. So I think it's an interesting challenge to manage in terms of, and I had to go through that process of seeing how bad I was to being far better.
And sometimes it's not about achieving the perfect solution, because I think, again, it kind of comes back to that imposter syndrome and burnout, is that you're not okay, burnt out, okay. It's there are days or projects or seasons, and that has been probably the biggest takeaway that I've had from working with my coach recently, is that I've always felt, even though I don't have kids, I feel I'm very close to my grandparents, my parents live in France, I'm always feeling like I should be somewhere else. And I think that was the overwhelm, is that whenever I was working, I was guilty I wasn't spending time with my friends and family, and then guilty that I'm not at the gym more, and then when I'm at the gym, I'm like, God, I should be working. So for me, it's about knowing that there are days and periods that I'll win in some areas, and there are times when I look at myself and I go, I'm feeling really fit and I'm feeling great, I've just trained for a half marathon, but I've taken the foot off the pedal a little bit in terms of work. And then other periods where it's like September, I can imagine everyone's going to want marketing all at once in September, they get back off site, like, we need to talk about all this great work. And so that's probably going to be a month where I focus a lot on Electric Cat, and then when I'm with my family, I try very hard to be present, turn off my phone, and spend the quality time with my grandparents, rather than being there on the sofa and they're watching TV and I'm sending emails, which they've seen a lot of this. So
I was just thinking, I think it's like a roller coaster, isn't it, that we're all on in this industry, that it can be smooth, then suddenly you go, no, but then like, oh, we're going down into the log flume, and it's kind of accepting that that's what it's like, and knowing that you're coming into this busy time. So like things like getting all your meals ready, or thinking about your online shopping, or like, I'm not going to see you for 2 weeks. I'm like, one of my friends, I haven't seen her, she's away for 6 weeks. I was like, but that's fine, we'll just meet up later. Like, don't put yourself under pressure. Just go, you know what, I'm coming up here, and then I'm going to hit that water coming down, then it's going to be calm again. And I think I've just literally been thinking that, yeah, you kind of roll along and you just got to go with the ride. Like, don't be like,
You
because
do realise that Laura will now be thinking about a roller coaster for the animation now. You know? So I think potentially that is a really nice place to sort of wind things up in terms of this talk. So I do appreciate both of you sparing the time. It's lovely to see you and listen about how you're getting on.
Yeah.
I know our
Thank you.
listeners again have taken a lot of takeaways from this one. So thanks ever
thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you.
It's a
Went so
pleasure.
quickly
Thank you.
again. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Anytime.